believe you all can see my screen now. So thank you very much for taking a few minutes of your Saturday morning, the beautiful Philippines, to join us for this presentation. So my name is Rod Torresan. I'm the Manager of International Programs and Partnerships here at the Justice Institute of British Columbia. We like to say that JIBC is Canada's leading public safety educator, and I will explain in a few minutes why. To start, I just want to clear that we are a public institute. Therefore, the programs that we'll be talking today will make students eligible for the 3 years post-graduation work permit. Students will be able to work while they're studying with us. They can work part-time during their studies and full-time during academic breaks, which is during summertime, the 4 months during summer. So right now will be an academic break. Students can possibly work full-time. Yeah, and I guess one of the benefits of studying in Canada is really gaining exposure to a very diverse society, international world, great schools, very inclusive. I personally love and live in the beautiful Metro Vancouver area. Here on the left, you can see a photo from Vancouver downtown. It's one of the most beautiful downtown city centers that I've seen. It's a city surrounded by nature. So it's surrounded by mountains. If you look on the back, you have Mount Frome, Mount Seymour, Cypress. You're just less than 30 minutes away from downtown. You find ski resorts, bike tracks. You can enjoy the beaches. And our campus is located in New Westminster. New Westminster is just 27 minutes away from the city center, Vancouver downtown. It's a city, it's a small city. As you can see here on the map, these are all little cities, but they're all connected as part of the Metro Vancouver area. 27 minutes by public transportation. One of the benefits of living in New Westminster, it's the lower cost of living, at least 40% cheaper than living in Vancouver downtown. When it comes to Metro Vancouver, all cities are very safe, fun, multicultural. And one of the things that I could not mention is that we have one of the best weathers in Canada, the mildest weather in Canada. So not so hot during summer, not so cold during winter as well. Just to give an idea how New Westminster look like, on the back, we have the bridge connecting over the Fraser River connecting New West to Surrey. On the right hand, you can see just an example of traditional constructions that you find on the streets. New Westminster was actually the first capital of the British Columbia. So you find some very nice traditional constructions there. I know that photo on the left may seem scary in a word post-COVID, but we host the largest food truck festival in the region with foods from all over the world, definitely from the Philippines as well. And on the right side, you can see an aerial photo of New West, just so you can see how close it is to the mountains, the water. There's still quite a few skyscrapers, but it's still a very green city. Now, to start talking a little bit about JIBC, I have an aerial photo for New Westminster campus here on the right. We have 6 campuses, but today we'll be focusing on our New Westminster campus, which is the largest one. Is where we host the programs that work well for international students. We are 43 years old, and yearly we train about 32,000 students. Now, a lot of those students are taking ongoing professional development courses, so online or short programs, but on campus full-time yearly, we have about 3,500 students. JIBC has a very unique mandate. We're specialized in a broad spectrum of programs related to justice and public safety. What I mean by that, here I have some of our main area of studies. It goes from firefighting, emergency management, paramedicine and health science, community safety, law enforcement investigations and security, intelligence analysis, and several development professional opportunities for these professionals. Today, we'll be focusing on 2 main areas, emergency management and law enforcement studies. Now, some of the top reasons why students end up choosing JIBC, I want to highlight that all our programs are very, we focus on applied learning. So everything that they'll learn with us, it's very applicable to the job markets, and will help students to land jobs once they graduate. We like to say that our learning is experiential, so very hands-on, which includes several job shadowing opportunities with instructors or professionals, or instructors. They're not the usual academic instructors, so they usually have years of experience and connections with the industry, either as police officers, firefighters, paramedics, investigators, border agents, you name it. Our classroom size are no more than 30 students. And we're seeing, because of a combination of all that, 96% of our students are landing jobs within their fields of studies within 6 months of graduation. I already mentioned that all the programs that we'll be covering today will make students eligible for the 3-year post-graduation work permit. So the most popular credential among international students that work well in terms of making them eligible for visas and work permits later on are, we have 3 programs in law enforcement studies. The first one is a diploma, followed by a bachelor's degree in law enforcement studies. And then we have 2 post-baccalaureate diploma, one in disaster management and the other one, again, in law enforcement studies. I'll be talking a little bit about all the programs. To start, I want to cover the post-baccalaureate diploma in disaster management. So this program is made for students that already have a bachelor's degree, and they are looking into either entering this new career or enhancing their skills. So by definition, disaster management is the systems and processes for preventing, mitigating, preparing for, responding to, and recovering from emergencies and disasters. This could be man-made disasters like terrorist attacks, or perhaps working on construction sites for buildings, bridges, oils, or even natural disasters like hurricanes, fire, floods, tsunamis, you name it. This is a 2-year program. There are 20 courses as part of the program. Here we're saying that it's only offering in September, but we're actually offering in January 2021. So right now we're open for January 2021. And it costs roughly $16,000 per year. Now, anyone with a bachelor's degree is welcome to apply. However, we're seeing some tendencies, some patterns when it comes to our student profile. They're usually between 25 to 35 years old. And in terms of their previous background, we're seeing quite a few engineers applying for this bachelor's. And I think it's quite understandable if, someone with an engineering background, can potentially work on, oil extractions, gas extractions, what else? Mining operations, constructions, factory plants, and they can be very helpful in terms of managing risks. But we also find we also have applicants with a background in public administration, all sorts of science degrees, and public health. Again, this is just a reference. Anyone is welcome to apply. So some of the potential areas of work that our students can be entering during and after the program includes helping companies and governments to interpret laws and policies, create emergency plans for them. So right now, all public universities and colleges here in BC, we had to create a COVID contingency plan, meaning how are we going to prevent COVID from spread within our student population. And our risk management person had to develop that plan. They can help organizations to plan for business disruptions. So in case of a fire, flood, or if there is an interruption on electricity, how can they ensure their operations, that their operation will continue? They can be assessing risks, working with communities that live close to high-risk areas, right? Training them. They can be planning for recovery after perhaps a fire or a terrorist attack. or if there's a major crisis or disaster. They can be helping first respondents or even managing operation centers. If you think about the Olympics in Japan, there will be people managing the operation centers for all games and for the whole event. Now, some of the possible careers related to disaster management, I went online and picked some jobs that are currently listed here in Canada, just to show how diverse this career can be. The first one is in education. So Langara College was hiring a manager for security and emergency management, paying a pretty good salary, close to $97,000. Then TransLink, which is a company who runs all the public buses and trains here in BC. So they're in charge of all the public transportation here in Metro Vancouver. They were hiring, again, an assistant manager, paying somewhat close to $94,000. And the government of Alberta was hiring a business continuity officer. So in case there is a major crisis, how will the government be prepared to help companies or even the operations of the government to continue and recover from that situation? As a reference, average salary for this type of careers in Canada, it's $77,000 per year, which is a great salary. Now, jumping into the second set of programs that I want to cover today, I'll be talking about the law enforcement studies programs. To start, I want to cover the two undergrad programs, the diploma and the bachelor's degree. So anyone with a high school diploma or anything higher is welcome to apply. These are 2 or 4 year programs. We're currently, I know for a fact that we have a student from the Philippines starting in September for the diploma in law enforcement studies. These programs are offered twice a year in January and September. And each of them, they have 20 courses in total. So the diploma will be 20 courses, the bachelor will be 40 courses over the course of 4 years. It costs roughly $17,000 per year, okay? For these programs in particular, we have some extra admission requirements, which includes 2 letters of reference, a criminal record check, and a letter of interest. So students explaining why they would like to study in the program. Now, I want to talk about the post-baccalaureate diploma in law enforcement studies. So the concept of all the programs, they're the same. What changes is really the level of instruction. So some courses, they're first year, some courses, they'll be 3rd, 4th year, so more advanced courses. The post-baccalaureate diploma is probably the most popular program among international students. It's a 2-year program offered twice a year in September and January, and it costs roughly $17,000 again per year. Now, anyone with a bachelor degree is welcome to apply, but again, we're seeing some trends among the profile of the applicants. We're seeing quite a few lawyers, students with a background in criminology, or those with a background in arts, right, an arts degree, either psychology, sociology, counseling, political science, policy studies, and quite a few international police officers that they're either retired or they want to transition their careers to Canada. Again, this is not a requirement, just a reference for you. So who should take these programs? All of them. Pretty much anyone that wants to learn more about the Canadian laws and criminal justice systems, anyone that wants to learn more about security and public safety, or who is looking to enhance and develop their intelligence analysis skills, investigation skills, leaderships, and conflict resolution. So we will be training our students to be, the best police officers that they could be, or anything related to that. And I'll cover a little bit more about careers in a second. In terms of practical terms, they'll be developing skills towards negotiation, mediation, how to de-escalate a situation when you're dealing with, let's say, a potential criminal, how to intervene in a crisis situation. They will be learning how to perform investigations, how to collect forensic evidence, how to restore justice in communities that have been marginalized throughout history, how to work with law enforcement in a diverse society. So here in Vancouver, I believe that over 50% of the population don't have English as their first language. So how to deal with law enforcement in such a diverse society. And also quite a few psychology courses to understand the criminal behavior. Some of the possible careers related to law enforcement while our students are still working with a study permit or a work permit. So these are open for anyone with authorization to work in Canada, pretty much. Some of them are related to security and safety. So they could be working with companies transporting money from point A to point B. They can be working in airports. Airports, a lot of the security in airports are private, which includes airport screening, monitoring the perimeter, with a mobile patroller, perhaps working with dogs, smelling explosives and drugs, working for companies, malls, with surveillance and loss prevention. They can perhaps work in casinos with gaming surveillance as gaming investigators. We know that where there is money, there is fraud attempt. All the casinos resume operations in the month of July, so they're all working again. And all the security in casinos are private. They can work as private investigators, as fraud analysts for big auditing companies. They can work perhaps on the more environmental side, protecting parks, animals from cruelties, monitoring ports, and therefore monitoring commercial vehicles going out of the ports and transporting cargo all over the country. And again, just as a reference, starting salary for this type of career is $55,000 per year and plus, okay? So that's just a reference as a starting salary. Now, some of the possible careers, again, I went online and looked for jobs currently listed that ask students to have a background in law enforcement. The first one is related to finance. This company called FinTrack, they're the organization in charge of monitoring all the financial transactions in Canada. This means online banking, cryptocurrencies, and they were hiring a compliance officer, again, with a salary close to $90,000. Then the BC Public Service, they were hiring a gaming investigator, so someone to investigate fraud attempts or money laundering. They were hiring someone paying somewhere between $70,000 to $90,000. And then the city of White Rock, which is just 30 minutes away from our campus, closer to the border with the US, they were hiring a parking patrol officer with a salary somewhat between $50,000 to $60,000. Now, once a student becomes a permanent resident of Canada or a Canadian citizen, they can apply to become a local police officer, perhaps a federal police officer, working as a border agent. We have the border here with the US close by, we have international airports, or even work for the Canadian Intelligence Services, which is equivalent to our CIA. They can work in jails. And I picked some of the salaries for your reference. The lower range is usually their starting salary on day one, and the higher range is usually what they will be making after 4 years. So here, policing, they usually start with a base salary, and as they progress in the first 4 years, they receive increments on their salaries. And from there on, they can still receive promotions. Now, some of the overall requirements for someone to become a police officer in Canada. These are just overall, it might change depending on the police department, the city, or the corporation, but basically they need to be a permanent resident of Canada or a citizen. They need to be fluent in English or French, not both languages. They need to have a high school diploma or higher. We're seeing that 85% of the police officers hired by the Vancouver Police Department, they have a post-secondary diploma, at least, okay? So only with a high school is very unlikely that you will be hired by the police. They need to be in good health, meet the vision standards, meet the hearing standards, pass the physical ability test. Again, this is not a CrossFit test. They just want to know if you can, you know, run a little bit, do some push-ups and all that. You need to have a good character and definitely no criminal convictions, okay? This is probably the most important. Just to briefly mention some of the supports that JIBC offered for international students. It includes academic advising. So we have a full-time exclusive academic advisor dedicated for international students to help them out with their career plans and academic goals. We have a full-time mental health and wellness center to support students that might be struggling during certain periods of their lives. We have a writing center that's quite popular among international students. So we help them to write essays, mostly when it's related to grammar, citations. We can help them with research. We can help them with finding books at the library. Each semester we perform the new student orientation only for international students. And we have a quite cool program called the International Buddy Program. We basically pair new students with existing students. This provides them with a first face and a first friend here in Canada. It's quite often well used by both sides to make friends and ask questions that they wouldn't ask otherwise to, agents and school. And there are also several study abroad opportunities, inclusive available for international students. In terms of facilities, we have a free gym for students and 2 gymnasiums. These are large covered gymnasiums where they can play basketball, volleyball, you name it. Also a cafeteria, Tim Hortons cafeteria, a Tim Hortons coffee bar, and a cafeteria where we serve food. We serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner at a quite affordable rate. I used to have lunch there all the time when I was working from campus. I'm still working from home, but going back next month. And one thing that I should probably mention now that we're on the topic, we are planning for online and face-to-face courses in September. So some courses will be offered in both formats. Some would only be offered face-to-face. So probably for now, September is already too late. So January 2022, hopefully you will be able to join us on campus. In terms of admission requirements, we accept color scan copies sent over emails for admission purpose. So if you decide to apply, you have to scan your transcripts, your passport, your English test results, and send it to us over emails. So you don't need to worry about doing a credential evaluation in the first place. We may require that, but it's very unlikely. Yeah, as long as the documents are in English and we can process it, it should be fine. In terms of English requirement, we accept several English tests. The most popular will be IELTS 6.5 with no band less than 6.0. But we also accept TOEFL, Duolingo, PTE, and a few others. Duolingo is the online English test that we're accepting up until January 2022. For those of you that need to upgrade your English before joining our program, we work with 2 language schools. The first one is ILEC, the second one is ILSC. These are pathway partners. Pretty much means that you will join them to upgrade your English, knowing that you have been conditionally accepted to JIBC. This is good for you, so you have a guarantee that you start university, you have a seat for you once you complete your English program. It's good for the immigration lawyer, the immigration officer, that will see that you have a plan, and usually works well for those that need to take some upgrading courses. Again, it's already too late for September this year, but we're open for January next year, and we will soon be open to September next year. So these are just some of the dates for your reference. Keep in mind that January is probably the most likely intake for you. And just to wrap up, I want to mention that all our students will be covered by our temporary medical insurance with GuardMe. They pay $203 for 4 months, just for the first 4 months. And they're covered up to $5 million, right? It includes several scenarios, including dental coverage. But the one that I want to highlight today is the mobile clinic, the mobile doctor. So during your quarantining period, if you have to, or even later on, if you're, if you're busy with school, you have a work, you want to talk to a doctor, but you don't want to take time off, or you don't want to commute, you can talk to a doctor through the phone without leaving your home or from your work, from school. It's very convenient. I've done that in the past and I really appreciate it. It's the same thing as going to a real doctor. I mean, face to face, they're definitely real doctors. And you can order prescription, you can order medicine from home, which is quite convenient. So Apo, I think that's what I had to cover today. I'm very happy to have a chat now and maybe answer some questions if there are some.
Thanks, Rod. All right, so for those of you who are watching us live on our Facebook page, you may post your questions through the comment section. And those who are inside the Zoom room, you may post your questions using the Q&A box. I think it's below your screen. Okay, so let me check if we have questions. Okay, this is quite a common question. Are you now ready, Rod?
Yes, go for it.
All right, this question is about scholarships being offered for international students. Does JIBC offer anything?
Yeah, that's a great question. Unfortunately, we don't have any scholarship for new students, for future students, right? We do have one for current students based on academic performance. I want to point out that we also have, I think our programs are decently priced when compared to other colleges in the region. So they're somewhat, I mean, they're relatively affordable. I know that it's not cheap to study in Canada. However, when in comparison with other schools and other developed countries from the Commonwealth, I think we are a very affordable option.
Thanks, Rod. Here's another one for you. Is there a height requirement for law enforcement? In the Philippines, in order to enter the academy, there's a certain height requirement. So is there a requirement from your end?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I actually had a slide on my presentation about the myths of becoming a police officer in Canada. And that's one of them. There's no height requirement. There's no weight requirement. There's no age requirement. There's no gender identity requirement. So Canada is very inclusive, and they want the police force to represent the society. So they know that, you know, in society, you find people from all backgrounds, from all, sexual orientations. So the policing is very open for anyone. So yeah, no height requirement.
So one of the common questions that we encounter, is there a chance that JIBC waives the English test for Filipino students?
Yeah, that's a good question. Not at the moment, unfortunately. However, we have this, we're accepting the Duolingo test, which is quite cheap. It takes about 2 hours to complete and you can do it from home. So I know that it's a pain to take another English test and pay a little bit for it, but it's not it's not a complicated solution. I think it's less than a third of the cost of an IELTS exam. So that could be a quick option.
Yeah, and we actually highly recommend that students take the IELTS exam and apply under the student direct stream.
Yes.
Doing that, you'll have a higher chance of approval, actually. But yeah, I mean, most Filipino students would go through, would want to have the waive IELTS. But yep, there's your answer. Okay, there's another question. My son was refused in 2018. Can he apply again? Definitely. If your son's application was refused, he can actually apply again, but we need to figure out what went wrong. That's the first step. You need to request for the notes of the visa officers in order for us to analyze what went wrong. And from there, we address those concerns in refiling the application. Yeah, visit gatewaytocanada.com, book an appointment, and we'll be happy to discuss that with you. All right, thank you. Another question. Are there advantages if you're part of the law enforcement here in the Philippines?
Yeah, there are some, I wouldn't call it advantage, but you have a more competitive profile. Okay, so for programs, for example, for what if you think about our law enforcement diploma, where we ask students for a reference letter, a letter of interest, you probably have a stronger case why you would want to continue your career here in Canada. Now, later on, when you're looking for jobs, definitely, I think a combination of understanding of law enforcement in both countries will definitely make you more, I guess, employable once you graduate. And we have quite a few police officers. On top of my head, I know that we have some from India, from the US. We have retired militaries from the US. We have police officers from Brazil, from different organizations. When I say corporations, right? So municipal police officer, federals, even army. So yeah, it's definitely an option.
All right, thanks, Rod. Is another, I think it's a follow-up question that how do they justify studying law enforcement in Canada if they need to justify that they have to go back in the Philippines? How does that work? I mean, based on your experience.
That's a good question. Perhaps I want to start saying that for September, we have 92 students accepted, and most of them already got the visa. The ones that didn't, it's because of processing time. And we had intakes, several intakes with the same volume in the past. So I just want to, I know that the biggest concern will be visa denials. I just want to tell that for a fact, I know that visas are being approved. Now, in terms of the justifications, I think it's quite personal. And perhaps I think Gateway will probably have a better idea. Do you help students with the visa application as well, or?
Yeah, we do. We are not just an education agent, and we are an immigration consultancy firm. So yes, if you hire us, we will definitely guide you on how to prepare your personal study plan. That's definitely a service that we offer.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I think the appeal here will be, I guess, point out the flaws in the law enforcement system in your country when compared to Canada, and perhaps thinking about ways of joining your corporation when you go back, and I guess
that's a good point. Thanks, Rod. All right. So, do you have an age limit for job opportunity in this field? Probably referring to law enforcement. Is there an age limit?
No, there's no age limit, neither for any police corporation. As long as you can pass, the hearing, the visual test, the physical abilities test, there's no restriction. Now, I'm talking a lot about the potential of becoming a police officer in Canada. I just want to highlight there are several other opportunities in the private and public sector, like any other job, okay? So rest assured that you have plenty of job opportunities in other areas as well.
Yeah, there is also no age limit for purposes of student visa application. We have a student who is already 51-year-old and still get the visa. So age is definitely not a problem.
Yeah, I'm sorry, just to compliment, we're talking, we have an applicant from Brazil. He's around 57, and he's a retired federal judge in the country. So high level professional, and he's looking into moving here with his wife and his 14-year-old son. Yeah, and he's looking into going back to school, learning a little bit more, and hopefully, get a job once he graduates. He's still very young, but yeah, he's a federal judge applying to one of our programs.
Wow, that's great to hear. Thanks, Rod. All right, so another question here. Okay, this concerns the admission processing time. How fast?
It's usually very fast because we accept color scan copies. Usually in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, we can issue an offer letter. And once we receive the confirmation deposit, it's another day or two up until we receive the payment to release the acceptance letter. So I want to say that altogether, from the time of application until the acceptance letter is issued, it's about 3 weeks.
All right. Thanks, Rod. Okay, another question. Do you accept applicant who finished a 2-year degree in the Philippines? Probably these are those who completed the old curriculum, grade 10, and took a 2-year program after that. So are those type of students accepted in JIBC?
I think so. So we're talking about high school students that completed 2 years and they did another 2 years of post-secondary education.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see why not. Yes.
They are considered grade 12 actually, because they completed grade 10 and took another 2 years using the old curriculum. So they're grade 12. They are not eligible for post-bac, right? Because you need a bachelor's degree, but they can take the bachelor degree.
Exactly. Yeah. For the diploma and the bachelor, they would be eligible.
All right. Thanks, Rod. Another question. How much is the tuition for diploma? I think it's discussed earlier. It's around 16 to 17,000 yearly. Is that right, Rod?
That's correct. That's correct.
All right. Are you ready for more? Okay.
Oh, yeah, let's keep going. I'm liking it. Great questions. Thank you.
Okay. Any idea on the prices of accommodation near JIBC?
Yes. Accommodation prices can vary a lot depending on the conditions, right? Depending where the student wants to live, if they want to share, if they want to share a room, if they want to live on their own. So it varies a lot. I can tell that for starting with a homestay, I want to say that it's about $800 to $1,000 per month to live with a homestay and have about 2 meals included. So usually breakfast and dinner. Now, if you were to rent a room in a shared apartment, it will cost about between $600 to $800, okay? To rent a shared room in a shared apartment. Sorry, rent a room, a private room in a shared apartment. If you were to rent a 1-bedroom apartment in Westminster, it's about $1,300 to $1,800, depending on the conditions of the apartment and the location. This is very easy to find online these days. If you go to Facebook Marketplace, you find so many references, and there are several websites. It's important for us to give a disclaimer. When you're dealing with accommodations, be aware of scammers, okay? It can happen, so be very mindful.
Thanks, Rod. Okay, so it's another question. If I graduate in your school, will I have PGWP? You can answer that, Rod?
Yes, you will be eligible to apply for the post-graduation work permit. If you study for 2 years, most likely you will get a 3 years work permit.
Yep, that's correct. All right. How about for those who are still in active service in the law enforcement? Is retirement an issue in applying for police? What's that? Maybe you have to rephrase your question. I think the retirement is an issue in applying for police officer in Canada. Okay.
Not that I know. No, it's a job like any other job. Maybe they don't have a written description, a written prohibition of who they wouldn't consider. But when it comes to who they actually hire, it might be a little different. So I think we need to be reasonable. There's no restriction for you to apply to our programs being a retired police officer. No, it depends, right? It depends on how old you will be once you complete the program and try to become a police officer here in Canada. Maybe you'll be more lucky working for a private organization that does some sort of security investigation, cyber security prevention, other than working for as policing, right? There are so many opportunities in the private sector as well.
All right. Yeah, maybe that is the line of questioning. Okay. Right. Another question. Oh, okay. Interesting. Are there Philippine international students currently right now at JIBC?
Yes, they are for sure. I don't have the numbers on top of my hand, but I know that we have, I think, 2 starting in September, and we definitely had several in the past.
Those are in law enforcement or disaster risk management?
We have some in the paramedics program. It's a 1-year primary care paramedic program. This one is a very nice program, but it's currently closed for students outside of Canada. So we take some international students that are in the country. We have some Filipinos in law enforcement studies. No, the Filipino community here, it's very big in Vancouver. So there are quite a few that are, first generation born, and they apply to become a firefighter or, Canadian law enforcement. However, they're tracked as domestic students, right? Because they were either born here or they're permanent residents of Canada.
Okay. I think we have answered everything, but maybe we'll still have a few minutes to wait for your question if you have any.
Sounds great.
Okay, so for those who are asking about our services, simply visit gatewaytocanada.com, click the study button, and then all the information about the student application process is all in there. Everything you need to know in order for you to make an informed decision, it's there. But if you want a further discussion, you can simply book an appointment, and we'll be happy to sit down with you and answer your queries. It is not required to hire the assistance of an immigration consultant or lawyer. But if you want to be guided, that's the only time that if you think you need assistance, you want to be guided, then that's the only time you consider hiring. But if you want to do this on your own, you can visit canada.ca. All the information about the process is in there. All right. So, do we have more questions? Looks like we've answered everything. Perhaps your last remarks?
My last remarks. Well, I just want to thank you in Gateway to Canada to organize this session. It's been a pleasure joining you in this morning in the Philippines. I hope to be able to travel and do this in person sometime soon. And I'll in the meantime, I'll stay here. Waiting for more questions and welcoming any of the Filipino students that want to pursue a career with us.
All right. Thanks, Rod. And we will be sending students your way. I think there are some interest here, interesting questions. And again, I mean, the fact that you've joined the webinar this morning, you took some time off your Saturday, that means you are serious about this, right? You've made the first step. But, dreaming for a quality life is one thing. Doing something to make it happen is another. This is just the first step. The next step is decision. You may decide to do this on your own, visit canada.ca, or if you want to hire us, visit gatewaytocanada.com. That being said, thank you very much. Keep safe. Thanks, Rod. Really appreciate your presence today. Appreciate it.
Have a good day.
All right. Bye.
Bye.